So I guess you're wondering why I have not talked at all about the overly compelling, exciting, stimulating 2 weeks of exciting TV, the impeachment hearings. Yeah, you get the picture. I didn't talk about it because there's nothing to talk about. However, right now I think it's time to discuss the backfire of what just happened on the Democrat Party into the laps of Hunter and Joe Biden. I'm going to talk about that, the impeachment. I'm also going to talk about what it would look like if the Democrats decided to be foolish enough to actually vote for impeachment and send it over to the Senate. Now, there's a reason why President Trump said he's looking forward to a trial as to why you would think they don't want to do it. But they just might, and we're going to talk about what that would look like right now. Hi, my name is Kyle. Welcome to my channel where we take culture, TV, and movies and we filter it right. If this is your first time here, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button and that bell icon so you don't miss any future content. Now, like I said in my introduction, there is an impeachment hearing that's been going on for the past 2 weeks, and Adam Schiff, the committee leader in the House, has been putting everybody to sleep with a bunch of anonymous hearsay whistleblowers that are supposed to be anonymous that really aren't anonymous. You have the Republicans on this other side, like Jim Jordan and Nunes, doing their best to expose the Democrats for what they are. And that's pretty much a desperate group of politicians who are trying desperately to keep President Trump from gaining in the polls, to winning in 2020, and to maybe get him out of office so that they don't have to worry about running against him. Well, unfortunately for them, it is not going the way they think it should go. And what they've ended up doing, like I said, is causing the Republican Party to galvanize, and in the process, it's backfired on Hunter and Joe Biden. And let's talk about that. So, first off, the Republican Party is now as united as it's ever been behind this president. The Republicans in the House did a fantastic job questioning, pulling out information that wasn't necessarily there, forthcoming from the Democrats, because they weren't allowing any witnesses. They were shutting down questioning. It was just a total, to me, it was just a total disregard to our framework of what the Constitution is. It made a mockery of the Constitution and the process of getting to the information and allowing the defendant, in this case the president, to bring forth witnesses to defend himself. You have people who are hiding in the shadows, this so-called whistleblower, who I believe is nothing more than a political informant who's worked in the Obama campaign and so forth. And you have Adam Schiff, who's so bent on destroying this president that he is going to stop at nothing to lie, to cheat, and to steal time from Republicans who are trying to ask questions and try to get to the bottom of this. But that's not happening, and the American people are seeing it. The Republican Party is seeing it. Independent voters are seeing it. They're saying, "Hey, this is ridiculous. I can't believe this." I'm seeing texts coming across my inbox. I'm seeing posts on Facebook and Twitter where Democrats who are saying, "Look, if this is how my party is going to act, I am not going to vote for whoever the Democrat candidate is. I may even vote for Trump." And so I think that's going to play a big factor in 2020 if the Democrats keep pushing this silly narrative with no evidence whatsoever. We have the transcript. President Trump didn't do anything wrong. Everything is hearsay. The House Judiciary Committee changed the rules to allow hearsay to be admitted in these hearings, whereas before it wasn't. So the House rules changed, and thereby we have this circus right now in the Congress. And so before I get into what it would look like in the Senate, let's talk about a little bit about what's going on with the Republican Party, what's going on with what's happened. So right now, the Democrats are now behind in donations 3-1 to the Republican Party. Brad Parscale, who is the campaign manager for Trump 2020, he said that in a single day, the campaign got $31 million. $31 million in a single day, a record. And what's happening is, not only with that, we're seeing a lot of small donations, especially from women. In 2016, women supported Trump in small donations at about 25%. Now it's over 50%, small and large donations. And we're seeing a huge increase in Trump's polling numbers. We're seeing what they thought would be a problem with Obama. What would happen with Biden? That he would be vaulted forward with these impeachment hearings. But what's happening is we're seeing the exact opposite. We're seeing that Biden's numbers are going down. His numbers in Iowa are going down. He has competition. He has this guy named Duval Patrick coming in, and you have Bloomberg who entered into the race. And so he is crumbling before our very eyes, and there is a lot of information coming forth. Senator Lindsey Graham has actually announced he's going to launch an investigation into the Biden Burisma scandal that happened in the Ukraine. And he's asking for documentations on that. And Biden lashed out this last week saying, Lindsey Graham's going to be, he's going to rue the day, more or less, that he's disappointed in what Lindsey Graham did, and he's going to make Lindsey Graham pay. So Biden's upset. It's just a bad week for him. And I think overall, the American people are just tired of this whole situation going on. So let's talk a little bit about the polling numbers, because I didn't talk about this before. The polling numbers, if you saw like the Real Clear Politics polling in the past couple weeks, you saw that the numbers were pretty high in terms of people who were favoring impeachment. But then you would look at something like the Rasmussen poll, which would be about 7 points higher than the average poll that's on Real Clear Politics. And that's because the Real Clear Politics average, most of those polls are dealing with just adult voters. It's not dealing with what Rasmussen was dealing with, and that's likely voters. And if you take likely voters, you typically get a 6% bump in terms of accuracy. And so if you look at the numbers with the Real Clear Politics number average 2 weeks ago, it was 45% versus 38%, which is a 7% difference, which falls right in line with that polling number that Rasmussen had. Now, today, fast forward 2 weeks, the numbers are now opposite now. People now are looking at overall not being in favor for impeachment. Trump's numbers are going up, and in fact, 1 out of 3 Democrats are looking favorably in investigating Joe Biden, and so that's changed a lot. And if you look at some of the battleground states like Michigan, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Arizona, and Florida, the no impeachment rate is about 6 to 11%, and the support for the inquiry is about 4%. And so those numbers, we have 41% for who are in favor of the inquiry impeachment, and only 42% are opposed to both. And then you have 17% that just are either way. And that 17% are your independent voters, okay? That 17% is what is going to move sharply for Trump. We're finding now that independent voters are moving to Trump because they're just tired of what's going on. We're seeing record numbers in the economy. We're seeing great indicators across the board. We're seeing China in a process right now of bending the knee to America because these tariffs are really crushing them. They had a GDP at the lowest it ever recorded since 1993. They are not growing. The U.S. is growing at a 4.1 GDP, and we're just rolling. And unfortunately, we're not seeing any of this stuff happening in the media. All we're seeing is impeachment. And again, that's another indicator. That's another reason why the independent voters are looking to jump ship from the Democrat Party and go over to the Trump campaign. And so, with that, I am going to talk a little bit about what it would look like what it would look like if the Senate decided to take on the trial. And what that would mean is that there would need to be about 200, and I'm not sure the exact number of votes in the House. It's basically an up or down vote. So if the majority of the House members decide to vote for impeachment, then it will go into the Senate where we have a trial. And President Trump actually said in an interview that he was looking forward to a trial. They're saying, why would he say that? Why would the president say that an impeachment vote against him to go to a trial in the Senate? Why would that be something that he would look forward to? Well, I think there's several reasons. Number one, because he's not getting due process in the House right now. Like I said before, witnesses are being withheld, testimony is being stopped, and there's no due process. There's anonymous people. There is hearsay, third, fourth, fifth party. I think I heard something. I assume that kind of stuff just can't fly in a court of law. And I think Trump wants to be in front of a jury of his peers and be able to lay his case out. That's number one. Number two, I think he wants to expose the people that that has been lying to him. All right. So not only is it to get representation, but also to go on the attack and to dig into the real cause of not only the Ukraine crazy thing that's going on with the phone call and the transcript, and why, you have Adam Schiff totally make something up that was not in the transcript. We have a written transcript that was transcribed by several people on this phone call, and it has nothing to do with anything that Adam Schiff said in his speech in front of the Congress. He wants to do that. So dig into that, but also into the Russian collusion and everything else, into Burisma and all of that stuff with the Ukraine, because in some ways I feel that this could all be tied together. Not only to mention the FBI collusion, we just had an FBI agent under investigation now for doctoring the FISA record, which actually ended up getting the report that actually allowed this whole thing to get started with the dossier. And so there's a lot of things going on that I think the Senate trial will help bring that stuff out. Because guess what? The head of the Judiciary Committee in the Senate is Lindsey Graham. And he's already said two things. One, he said that he is not going to allow hearsay in the Senate, in the trial. He said basically handedly that, look, once you allow hearsay by them changing the rules in the House, he said, we're not going to honor what they did in the House. We're going to have our own rules. We're going to do it the way it's supposed to be done. Once you do that, where you put the fate of the White House, of the presidency, in the hands of hearsay, that pretty much makes the entire office be volatile and in jeopardy. So anytime in the future, a president could be kicked out of office simply because there's hearsay. And that needs to be stopped, and that can't happen ever again. And second thing Lindsey Graham said was that he's not going to allow any anonymous witnesses. So that means that Adam Schiff is going to have to come forth with this whistleblower, whom he says that he does not know who it is, but really Jim Jordan, in his questioning from Ohio, the Republican congressman from Ohio, caught one of the witnesses in a trap, basically saying, well, if you don't know who the whistleblower is, why are you telling him not to mention names? Because Adam Schiff said, don't give any names because we don't want to expose the whistleblower. But if he had not known the whistleblower, how would he know what the witness was going to say? And so he kind of caught him there. But in the Senate, he won't have a choice because the Senate has subpoena power. The Republicans have a majority in the Senate. They would control the show. Lindsey Graham would be in charge. All the Senate rules would be in play, and it would be a totally different ball game. And on top of all that, they're going to need a supermajority to remove the president. So it would require, a 2/3 majority. And but more or less, it's really going to hurt the Democrats in many, many, many ways. And I think the third reason why Trump will look forward to a trial in the Senate is because it's going to expose the 31 Democrats who are looking to keep in office. All right. So you have 31 vulnerable Democrats in Trump districts, says here in the Gateway Pundit, are freaked out that GOP is running shifty Schiff impeachment ads in their districts. So what we're saying here is that there's 31 purple districts around the country that Trump won. Okay. And these 31 House members are volatile because the people in those districts want representation. They don't want partisan stuff going on in the Congress. They want to be represented in their own districts, and they don't take impeaching a president for nothing very lightly. And so this article names these 31 Democrats. And so for them to get the number of votes they need to get to a Senate trial, these 31 votes would have to vote in favor of it. And I think that's the third reason why Trump wants to have a trial in the Senate. Number one, again, was because he wants to be able to defend himself. Number two, he wants to go on the attack and also expose Russiagate, collusion with Ukraine, the FISA warrants, all that stuff, get to the bottom of that. And lastly, he wants to expose Democrats who are volatile and need the Trump-based support in those districts in order for them to win re-election. And so if all that goes his way, Trump could really play havoc to the Democrats, and it would just be suicidal for these Democrats to actually decide that we're going to impeach this president. And so here are your Democrats here. Here are your districts. These people here have to be really, really nervous because Trump won all of these districts in 2016. And now all of a sudden, they're going to have to make a decision. Are we going to vote for impeachment? Are we going to be whipped into the process? Whip being a congressional term, meaning that that Nancy Pelosi basically whips their votes in place. Are they going to be whipped into place to vote for this at the detriment of their own positions? Not only that, it would cost Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House. It would throw the House into the hands of the Republicans, and at which point they would tighten up the rules because they now own the House. So this won't happen again. And then they will, of course, more than likely hold the Senate. And so then at that point, I've said this before, that if we lost in 2018, which we did in terms of the House, that the Democrats would be so bent on destroying this president that they are going to do hearings and impeachment, all these different things. They're going to not do their jobs. They're going to make the American people really, really, really cynical and angry at them, because the Democrats really need to adhere to their radical base in order for them to move anything forward. But in doing so, that's going to cause that to happen, and it's going to cause them to lose the House and then go back to the Republican Party, which would also control the Senate and the White House. And then I predicted back in 2018 that if that happened, and when that happened, that President Trump would have the greatest second-term presidency in the history of this country. And there's not really much to say about that because there hasn't really been a really good second term. George Washington's second term wasn't really good. Adams' 2 terms weren't really good. Jefferson's wasn't good. Andrew Jackson may have been considered having a decent second term, but no president, in my opinion, has really had a really, really good second term. Even Franklin Roosevelt, his second term was basically dealing with World War II, and maybe you could really look at that one as something that's maybe a good second term. But I think Trump has a really, really good chance of doing that if he can get the House and the Senate, and so forth. So, and lastly, what he's doing in the court systems, he just flipped another appellate court into the conservative column. He and McConnell have done a fantastic job in the Senate of confirming these judicial appointees. And so Trump is just really, really rolling here. And so, that's what's going on here. And we'll see what happens this week. I've even heard talks of censure and not impeachment. But again, that drumbeat is moving so hard on the left. I'm not sure how Nancy Pelosi can hold it back. And if they vote, here's the problem. If they vote for impeachment, it's a lose-lose for them, because if they vote and don't get enough votes, then their left base is going to go absolutely crazy. It's going to destroy the whole narrative of that, and they're really going to have a really, really difficult time saving face. If they do vote for it, well, then you got these 31 House members. They're going to have to defend these districts that went for Trump. You're going to have the GOP, which has tons of money. You can have these super PACs that have tons of money. They're going to be flooding these districts with campaign ads. Do you know that your congressman voted for impeachment? It's going to be nonstop in these districts all the way until November. And then lastly, of course, you're going to have the Senate trial, which is going to expose all this stuff. And I just don't know how this is going to shake out any other way but negative for the Democrats. Maybe I'll do a video after. Maybe I'll do a video as to what the Democrats should do. I'm not going to do it now, but maybe I'll do it after the election. But then it won't even seem like I'll seem like Johnny Come Lately. But I'm thinking I should do a video on that of what the Democrats should do. But I just don't want to give any really good advice to that side, because they may actually watch this video and actually take the advice. So, but anyway, with that being said, I hope this was a interesting video for you, and I want to know what your thoughts are on this. Do you think the Democrats will vote for impeachment of this president? If they do you think that they will get the votes? And if they do get the votes, what do you think about the Senate trial? Do you think that the Republicans will be strong enough to move forward with it, or do you think they'll just kowtow and then just let the Democrats have their way, even though they're in the minority? I don't think that's a possibility, but you never know. It's all subjective right here, but all I know is it's going to be exciting, whatever it is. And so with that, if you like the content on this channel where I take culture, TV, and movies, and I filter it right, please click the like and subscribe button and that bell icon so you don't miss any future content. As always, please check out some videos that I have right here.